The first shots of the use of cluster munitions, presumably near Krasnogorovka. What is it? Cluster munitions. These are shells or bombs capable of hitting a large area. They look like containers of various shapes, inside which submunitions are a huge number of small-caliber bombs. Fragmentation grenades or anti-personnel mines. In general, you can fill the emptiness of the container with anything, and the design itself is somewhat reminiscent of the idea of there is a shell, and inside there is a bloody surprise. Yes, the comparison is not the most rosy, given the consequences of the use of such weapons, but close to the point. When such a rocket is released, a parachute system is triggered, which aligns the ammunition cassette in the air. Then, small combat elements, also equipped with parachutes, are separated from the main container at a distance of several tens of meters from the ground, and a powerful wave of charge is scattered over hundreds of meters of territory. The explosion occurs directly at the ground. They are divided into the following types: unmanaged and managed, non-discarded and discarded. It is possible to produce such ammunition not only from an airplane, but also from missile systems, multiple launch rocket systems and artillery pieces. From a combat point of view, such cassettes increase the probability of an accurate hit on the target and increase the area of destruction. This is a dangerous weapon of mass destruction with a terrifying effect. What is the danger? In theory, such bombs are used to destroy combat targets, enemy personnel, its energy and strategically important facilities, runways and lightly armored vehicles. Ideally, they should be manageable and accurate. In practice, such ammunition destroys not only military targets, but also everything that comes to hand: civilian objects, cars and buses with passengers, civilians. The weapon does not divide into its own and others. Everyone who is unlucky enough to be in the affected area falls under its fire. Even worse is the situation in which cluster bombs are used to spray biological or chemical weapons. History of application and reaction of the world community. Now they are talking about cluster bombs because of the situation around their own, when Washington decided to transfer such weapons to the armed forces of Ukraine. In fact, the international convention will not be violated at the same time, because neither the USA nor Ukraine signed it. But the whole world is already talking about the sad consequences of such a decision, condemning the American authorities for it. The White House was urged by Human Rights Watch, the UN Secretary General, the authorities of Switzerland, China, Cambodia, Laos and even former US President Donald Trump to refuse to transfer cluster munitions. Examples of the use of cluster munitions on the battlefield are too memorable. They were massively used during the Second World War, during the US Operation Desert Storm in Iraq, during the wars in Korea, Laos, Vietnam, Afghanistan and Angola, in the wars of Great Britain with Argentina and Armenia with Azerbaijan. Residents of Southeast Asia, in particular Laos, are more than familiar with American cluster munitions. According to historians, during the Civil War in the 60s, for an average of 9 years, such American bombs fell on the territory of Laos every 8 minutes. In the half-century since those events, 30,000 people have died in Laos from the effects of the use of cluster munitions, and another 20,000 people have become disabled. The head of the government of Cambodia, Hun Sen, also called on the instigators of the conflict to reason. Out of pity for the Ukrainian people, I urge the President of the United States as a supplier and the President of Ukraine as a recipient not to use fragmentation bombs in the war, because the real victims will be Ukrainians. The terrible result of using cassettes is not only the result itself when applied directly, but also the consequences. After many years, the fact is that 10 to 30% of submunitions do not work during a strike. They remain in the ground, buildings, fields and cities. The worst thing is that such ammunition can wait in the wings at a depth of tens of meters underground for a long time, and it will still work one day. That is why the entire world community is now insisting not only on the rejection of the use of such weapons in Ukraine, but also on its complete ban in any hostilities.